My name is Diana Garrett, and I work together with Mirna Sotomayor at Camp Kikomar, which is on the Gulf Coast in the state of Veracruz, Mexico. And at this moment, we're getting used to a new reality, which is the fact that I am displaced in Costa Rica because it was something that was going to happen anyway, but my mother had a fall, and so it brought it more into the present, which was the need for me to be here with my parents. And so I am in Costa Rica, helping care for my parents. They are still pretty independent, but they just need somebody uh, here to help with stuff. And, especially as my mother recovers. And so it's looking like it's going to be a fairly permanent thing, where now instead of taking a trip twice a year to visit them, I'm going to take a trip twice a year to Kikomar to visit them. And that's a hard thing to get used to. And as Emily says, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but good things are hard. And so it's hard for me to give up my life in Kikomar. I just love my life in Kikomar, the daily coming and going and working with indigenous, an indigenous staff and I absolutely love that life. And I love my parents deeply, and we have a sweet communion as well. But there is a sense of mourning and a sense of how are we going to figure this out from, 5 countries away. So that's just life. It's things that have to happen. And I know because I know that God has me here. And that's all that needs to happen. And then I'm very grateful for Mirna, and I've shared, and I think she's shared in this group of her neurological challenges. And I'm very grateful to God and how He has provided the medical help that she needs to be able to have this properly medicated so that it doesn't go forward. And just see how she is flourishing in the space that God has given her as, we're calling her like a chaplain or a pastoral care in Kikomar, which is truly what she does. And she is so great at taking care of the local staff and then being on call for all the people who come, the guests and short-term volunteers and even groups. They just gravitate towards her and open up their hearts, and she has a sensitivity and is anointed to be a help. And so I thank the Lord, and I think it's, in a sense, it's hard because we've worked for 30 years together, and so it's hard to be separate, but it's being very good for her, and I just see the flourishing of her role within Kikomar. And as far as prayer request, we're looking for the restructuring of Camp Kikomar so that it can move forward into the 21st century without using 20th century role models of looking for missionaries with support and stuff like that. And so part of the challenge is working with our board. That's some people in our board are still on the 20th century role model, and we want to move into a new generation. And we've heard this today here, you've got to do things in a different way. And Gen Z in Mexico, and especially in the indigenous culture, is its own thing. You can't say what Gen Z is in the US is not the same as in Mexico. And even what it is in urban Mexico is very different from the rural people that we work with. And so we've just got a lot to put together so we can move into the future with a model that survives our physical lives. And Mirna and I are now, we've both, for different reasons, been pulled into the sidelines. And so we really need to get this together. And I was listening to Thomas, and the danger of having one person, that the whole ministry depends on one person, and how that then becomes that's not a good thing in any context, and how we have to be accountable to each other. And it might look to some people, and we've had some kickback, how come you need one missionary just for pastoral care? And maybe they don't understand the whole neurological thing, but I think that's God's way of putting somebody to, how many times we've talked about member care, and our staff care, and the spiritual accountability is just so important to avoid somebody walking alone and sin is crouching at the door, ready to bring down, God's giants in the kingdom. And so it grieves me to hear what Thomas has to say, and grieves me for SS, and prods me to avoid creating a situation in which a person has so much weight and so much power that they cannot stay strong in the Lord. So that, I guess, was more like a sermon than sharing, but that's where we are. That's where we are.
Well, you're clearly doing what God is calling you to do, and you're dealing with the changes the best that you can, right? You need to be with your mom and dad. You're doing the right thing. And it is interesting how Mirna is now stepping into what she needs to do, right? And you're right. She is anointed and she's sensitive to the spirit, and she's a great connector. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
So we pray that the restructuring works out well, and that the board is understanding. I hear this stuff all the time. People don't understand how the pastoral care and the missionary care, how important those things are. And we get so caught up in metrics, right? And um, yeah, the Lord is working on a different timetable and a different economy, and his
Right.
priorities are not always our priorities. And it's hard to balance all those things, isn't it? Yeah. Anyway, now I'm going to start preaching over the things I hear from people, so I don't want to go there. Appreciate you, sister. Um, Appreciate your parents. They're really awesome people. Yeah.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
They are.
All right.
And I just want to say a word for my mission. We're going this afternoon to celebrate 30 years of Christ for the City, and I just so deeply appreciate Christ for the City. They have such a, or we have such a vision to the point where it started off being North American, as in US, Canada based mission. And now 90% of its workers are non-North American people. And it's just a vision. And today we're celebrating 30 years. So
That's great.
I thank the Lord for Christ for the City and it's moved way beyond the cities. We're not a city, but it doesn't matter. They just move forward with in tune with the Spirit.
Now, your new president is actually from Pittsburgh.
Yes, and he's going to visit you
I've never
in
met him.
December.
Oh, that's so good.
He he's just a gift because we were led by Chip Anderson, who was my
Yeah. Oh, what a great
youth
guy.
group
Yeah.
leader so he was my leader since I was 13 years old. It was
Wow.
wonderful to walk with the leader all these years. And
Yeah.
he just retired, and he's the man for the job. He had to be uprooted from El Salvador, where he served, to go and take the spot in Omaha, where it's just hard. He did it,
Yeah.
and he's just a wonderful, and he's from Pittsburgh, yes.